Good afternoon from Washington, D.C., where it's a frigid, just about 100 degrees outside. I know everybody is jealous of us, of those of you who are on the East Coast right now. It is pretty extraordinary, this weather, and thankfully our air conditioner is just whirring in the background here. But I want to say thank you to so many of you for joining us today for this terrific chance to really provide some recognition for some extraordinary branch and affiliates that have achieved 5-star already. And all of you out there who are interested in either moving from 1-star to 2-star or just getting going on the 5-star program. And really, I want to be very clear that the 5-star National Recognition Program was truly started in a way so that all of us, as important as the grassroots efforts are for AUW, we are stronger by this national and international network. When we're working together on common goals, on a common agenda, we can achieve so much more, even while still understanding the incredibly important needs in your own communities and your own zip codes. So you can do both and still come together in a way so that we're achieving more quantitatively, qualitatively, and with meaningful mission impact on all that we care about at AUW in advancing equity for all. So today, we're going to get a chance to talk with some actual member leaders who've achieved 5-star status already and get a chance to recognize some other branches, as well as have my colleagues Nakia and Tremaine tell you a little more about how we're continuing to move forward in this new fiscal year with the 5-star programming, knowing that all of us are simply on Zoom or on phone calls for the foreseeable future, given the COVID-19 pandemic, and how we can pivot from old branch programming in person to now innovative, technologically available to all programming and still have great mission impact. So with that, I want to introduce some of our fantastic colleagues today from Marin in California and from Tarrant County in Texas. And I want to first introduce Shireen Chen, who's the former president of the Marin branch, and Dottie Burke, who's the new president of the Marin branch. And from Northeast Tarrant County, I'd like to introduce Paula Jernigan, Margaret Martin, and Carol Fisher. And today you're going to get a chance not only to hear from us, because you hear from staff a lot, but I think it's all the more beneficial to get real examples of what folks have done at the branch level to really embrace the 5-star program, yet make it their own in a way so that you're still, again, pulling on those major priorities that we're all working on, but making it specific to your area. And I'm just so proud and delighted and grateful that these member leaders have been able to join us today. So I know we need to give some recognition, Nakia, to all of the branches that have achieved status this year. So you can look right now here at your screen, look at all of these programs, or branches, that have already completed the 5-star National Recognition Program. And to be honest, even though they've achieved 5-star status already, these branches are continuing to work hard on our mission in all of the various categories for 5-star completion. So we have Marin in California, Bellingham in the state of Washington, Northeast Tarrant County in Texas. Those were our first 3. The Capital branch in Nevada, River Falls in Wisconsin, the Seattle branch in Washington, my hometown where I grew up, Ashland, Oregon, the Orinda, Morega, Lafayette branch in California, Virginia Beach, Virginia, the Schaumburg area in Illinois, Baldwin, Chesterfield in Missouri, State College in beautiful Pennsylvania, Reston, Herndon area branch here just outside the District of Columbia in Virginia, and Racine, Wisconsin. So please join me for a virtual congratulations and stand of applause here for all of these fantastic branches that have already achieved 5-star status. And you're going to get to hear, as I said at the beginning, from representatives from Northeast Tarrant County and from Marin in California about how they were able to achieve this and what steps they took to really put together an agenda for the year to achieve 5-star status. Now, with that, I would like to, right now, turn it over to my colleague, Tremaine Parquet, who is going to share with you some updates on the 5-star program, as we are now in, I believe it's month 142 of the COVID-19 pandemic. How it feels some days for all of us, but the most important thing I think if is for all of us to know that we can, as scary as this time is, we can continue to do great things virtually. I'm so incredibly proud of our staff. of our board, of all of you, of all that you're continuing to do about the things that matter most in this nation on how we can move equity and equality forward. And we can do so much because, frankly, this pandemic has shown just how much is needed out there for so many human beings that are suffering. So, one, I have to say again, a last pitch, please continue to wear your masks outside. Please continue to social distance and to not convene in person. It's critically important as these numbers are going up, but together we can continue to do good work together. So let me turn it over to Tremaine for some great updates on the program.
Thank you, Kim. Again, I am very excited to echo pretty much everything Kim just iterated about the 5-star program and all of our early pioneers. I think AAUW members are not unfamiliar with how they have been pioneers in a lot of things for equity. So I just want to kind of celebrate and applaud once again some of the early participants in the 5-star program. You've all been tremendous. We have had some growing pains as we kind of got this off the ground, and that is kind of why we wanted to not only, again, touch base again. It's been a year since we've initially started the 5-star program as a whole, and I think we've kind of envisioned this in a completely different world than what we currently live in. So I think that we would be remiss to not kind of circle back, take stock, and kind of not only kind of take a stock of what we have observed as some pain points for some branches and leaders that have been submitting and participating in the program, but also just general observations that we've seen that we think might help ease, the transition into the program as a whole. I mean, so I just want to kind of give some broader context for this too, because I know that, as we're in that kind of awkward transition phase where we are seeing the passing of the baton, if you will, where leaderships are changing hands. And so some of the faces that might be kind of tuning in here today may not be as intimately familiar with 5-star as those that have been, tried and true that since we started just last year. So I just want to take a moment. I'm not going to go through everything writ large, but I do want to just kind of set kind of what was the rationale for 5-star, kind of where our thinking was when we reinvigorated a process that some of you may actually remember from the older iteration, from when 5-star was a lot of collected papers and like binders that were sent into the national office for us to pour over ad nauseum, and folks sitting around a table, burning the candle at both ends, kind of going over what the submissions were. So we wanted to re-envision this as a simpler, easier process, and everything that we've kind of wanted to do with the program has been with that in mind. We do not want this to be a burden on member leaders. We do not want this to feel like this is something that is untowards or just being added to a burgeoning pile of things that are on your to-do list. This was intended to be something that would supplement and augment the things that you're naturally doing at the branch level. And that is the core principle of the 5-star program that will remain despite any or in spite of any changes or updates that we might recommend or make to the program, especially in lieu of obviously a growing pandemic that has all but sidelined a lot of the traditional programs that may have been sufficient or suitable for 5-star participation. So I just want to, kind of just touch on a couple things where it's like, again, we are wanting to reinforce and celebrate branches for doing the good work and the things locally that hopefully healthy branches, engaged branches that are wanting to achieve and further the mission of AAUW are doing. So, for example, you should have programs around the strategic plan. You should have be advocating for policies locally and with your elected officials that are, again, furthering our own mission. You should and I think this is now I know we're kind of getting a little bit tired of now more than ever a little bit. I've seen that there's some fatigue of that phrase, but now more than ever, we definitely want to make sure that you do have a website that is up to date and maybe, expanding and looking into your social media presence. I think, as Kim mentioned, for the foreseeable future, digital platforms, especially having a outward-facing, updated website and having a good social media presence and savvy is likely going to be the normative for a lot of us going forward. So I think back in February, back in March, when we first were doing our work at home for AAUW, I don't think Nakia nor myself were as versed or as knowledgeable or even aware of Zoom and its many platforms. and or any of the other kind of webinar facing platforms. So I think that is just something we are all going to have to get a little bit more technologically comfortable with and savvy as we go forward. And just frankly, this is all kind of important building blocks and kind of touch points for what we think are a healthy, engaged, and forward-thinking branch should be mindful of as they're continuing to conduct their activities. And so we're not really, so when we're looked at a lot of the criteria for 5-star, we kind of took a step back in terms of, okay, what are we now wanting our states and branches to be actively engaged in, especially in the era of COVID, and where a lot of the traditional platforms for our branches in our states have been upended, if you will. So some of the things that we are looking at, and again, I'm not going to go over all the changes writ large. I would very much urge you all to, once this, to have a lot of good contact information and our website. So I encourage everyone to take a look at the criterion writ large. But some of the things that we did look at for the 5-star program was to emphasize, as Kim mentioned, virtual meetings. So we did have where under our programs star, for example, we mentioned that 3 to 5 programs, and we wanted them to be you want to be these large public events, but clearly that is not, we can't entertain that type of programming for not our states and branches during the current climate. So we've actually scaled that back to be like 2 to 4, and we have emphasized that these should be virtual gatherings, digital events. And what those look like, obviously we would be happy to work with individuals as we kind of go through that process, but that is one of the things. And so it'll be virtual events, as well as we also reemphasize that virtual meetings with your state and elected officials. So you don't have to go to the state house. You don't have to go to the governor's mansion or something like that. We are asking you to kind of find ways to connect with them virtually, digitally, and so that you're not having to do in-person meetings for either of those. And we've also taken some steps to kind of change some of the criteria just to make it just make sense and easier for all parties involved. We had one under the advancement umbrella, and the advancement umbrella, for those that are kind of unfamiliar with the program, that is the umbrella that is about our supporting AAUW in a financial way. And and I think if you haven't had the opportunity yet, again, if I'm meeting and talking to some fresh faces that may just be kind of coming on board in your new leadership position, I would strongly urge you, if you haven't, to kind of tune in to Kim's State of the Association webinar, where she kind of goes at length as to why certain types of support right now are probably a lot more meaningful than others. And so, but under the advancement criterion, we did have an item about shifting focus, which was a little ambiguous. It left a lot of heads being scratched and a lot of, like, how do we compute the numbers and this and that? So now we're just looking at, a more flat, easier incremental measurement over on your greatest needs giving. So again, these were just, this is kind of overarching, kind of touching on some things. We didn't change a lot because the core of the program still remains the same. We still want to be recognizing branches and states for doing a lot of the activities that we think you're already doing locally. So we just want to make sure that we're recognizing and kind of being mindful of that, so that we can recognize it in this larger national public platform for things that you have been championing and doing locally and perhaps were unheralded in the past. So that's really been the core principle behind 5-star. It continues to be, and this has been iterative. This has been something we have had to adapt clearly in the last months, and I think we'll continue to. I will be fully remiss if I would mention that, this is not something that is going to change again if needed. And so I think we want to be receptive of your questions, be receptive of your feedback and your thoughts as we continue to kind of roll out and continue the 5-star program. Again, happy to be able to celebrate all of our initial kind of pioneers, if you will, that got their feet wet from the get-go, but it is not too late to participate. And so I'm going to now pass the baton a little bit to Nakia, but I do want to kind of touch on a couple things. So before I do, so Nakia is obviously going to be engaging with our great member leaders from Marin and from Northeast Tarrant County about kind of what they've done to achieve the success that they've done to achieve their 5-star status. But I'm also now going to kind of go dark and be looking at the chat and the Q&A functions to be able to see, some of your individual questions and be able to share some of that Q&A with our member leaders, because again, this is what we want to really be able to, the meat and potatoes of this is to honestly be that peer-to-peer, member leader to member leader, sharing ideas and having that sort of think tank for what is actively, what you are all grassroots doing in the field. So I'm going to go and kind of be monitoring the Q&A right now. And I do ask that you do use, and this is just a general housekeeping note, if you have if you're having technical issues, sound issues, visual issues, feel free to use the chat function for those inquiries. But if you have any general questions, either for staff or for the member leaders as they're going through kind of their growing pains and kind of what they did to kind of fit into 5-star, use the Q&A function. I urge you to do that. So with all that said, Nakia, I'm going to hand it over to you so you can introduce our esteemed guests of honor here from both of these branches and get started with getting into the why and how and what of their success at 5-star.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our 5-star recognition program celebration and update. I'm really happy to have you all here, and I'm happy that we have our amazing representatives from Northeast Tarrant County in Texas and Marin in California to join us. They are two of our first branches to complete the program, and it's just really exciting to work with them, as well as all of the branches that are in 5-star. I'd be able to learn so much from all of your submissions, from all of the work that you're doing locally, and I'm just really excited and really proud to continue that work into the new year. So I just want to introduce our representatives from Northeast Tarrant County. We have Paula Jernigan, who is the current president of our branch in Texas, and Margaret Martin and Carol Fisher, who are former co-presidents. I had the pleasure of working with them extensively during the first year of the 5-star program. So I'm really excited that you are all here. And from the AAUW Marin branch, we have Dorothy Burke, who is the current president, and Shireen Chen, who is the former president, who I was able to work with extensively as well. So moving into our program, I'm just going to ask a few questions of our representatives so you guys can get a deeper understanding of their progress in the 5-star program. Just hear more about their success, what they've learned, and how they will continue to use what they've learned to continue their work in advocating for women and girls. So with that said, we're going to get started. I'm going to start with the AAUW Northeast Tarrant County branch, and whoever wants to answer this question, feel free to jump in. So what was your approach to achieving your goals in the 5-star recognition program?
Well, our approach was to put the criteria for 5 stars on a Word spreadsheet. And then we started identifying things that either we had done or needed to do to achieve those criteria. Each person that was responsible for an action item on the plan was identified so that we knew who was responsible. We revised this Word spreadsheet so many times, and every board agenda, we went over the spreadsheet item by item and asked for input, asked for ideas, asked for names, so that we could identify what we would do specifically. And that's how we really made large leaps. Carol and I would talk in the mornings, and we would brainstorm what could we do to meet this criteria, who could we get to do this or that. And so with those brainstorming sessions, we made progress. So it was an year-long process of going inch by inch.
Thank you, Margaret. I love to hear how organized you all were in being able to put all those pieces together. I could definitely tell there was a lot of brainstorming going on. You were in contact so often, and I just love that. So the same question for the Marin branch. What was your approach?
So very similar to Margaret, we put together a spreadsheet on Excel that was shared on Google Docs. And again, very similar to Margaret's approach, everyone was responsible for a different activity. We had the date of when we had started and a completion date, or a wish list sort of completion date. But when the program was first rolled out, our branch really saw it as an opportunity to make sure that we were truly aligned with National's goals. And it's something that the board had been trying to do for a while. And we really felt like the 5-star program served as a useful roadmap on how to steer our branch. We also realized that we had many members who were gifted or passionate about certain areas. And so we were able to utilize their creativity and their expertise. For example, we had several dedicated members in Marin who they put together a Work Smart online demonstration with various partner organizations and schools, such as the YWCA and some of the local colleges. And they developed this whole program themselves, and as a way to get people to sign up and get an introduction to the program, and then they could go home and then complete the program on their own. And they had a survey for everyone to fill out afterwards, and the feedback was just tremendous that people really loved this, and it was really helpful for them. So I think, some of these accomplishments just really strengthened our branch's work and commitment to gender equity.
Love that. Thank you, Shireen. So that, I guess, brings me into our next question. What are some creative initiatives that you took on during your participation in the program? Northeast Tarrant County, you're up.
Well, the creative initiative that I remember the most was focus area number 4 for public policy. That criteria was to meet with a U.S. representative or state legislator to share our AAUW strategic area of focus. And previously, we had not met with individual legislators since we were nonpartisan. And so this was really new territory for us. And as we dealt with that, we puzzled over how we could do this, who we could contact, who might be receptive. Our Northeast Tarrant County branch gives scholarships to college women for Nick Whistle so they can attend each year. And in that process of selecting those students, we had friended the individuals that were chosen and also Texas Wesleyan University on Facebook. And one morning I saw that Texas Senator Beverly Powell was coming to Texas Wesleyan University to speak at a conference there. And so I contacted our public policy chairperson, Jerry Lynn Woodard Intrican, and she contacted the office for Senator Powell. And when they said yes, that Senator Powell would meet with us, we all registered for the event. We invited the students that had received previous scholarships to join us. And so we had a whole table of AAUW that was sponsored in the conference. And then we asked for a display table outside the conference to give out AAUW materials and to talk with people about AAUW. We all wore our name tags, and we shared prolifically the benefits of being an AAUW. Senator Powell was wonderful, and she met with us almost a whole hour when we had asked for 20 minutes. And later, Paula is going to give some details of what we actually did in that meeting, so stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Margaret. I love it. I love your excitement, especially around Nick Whistle. It's a little unfortunate that we're not able to do it this year, but I'm really looking forward to what we are able to do in the future, especially with the kind of work that you're doing.
Okay, the thing I think I'd like to add to that is that one of the assignments Margaret gave me was to pull together a packet of materials that we could give Senator Powell that would explain to her who we are as a national, state, and a local branch. And so we pulled together the documents that are called quick facts from the national website. And we put them together for Senator Powell so that she would begin to understand what the major topics of interest are for AAUW at all levels. We gave her the equal pay, quick facts, info, why we need the Paycheck Fairness Act, women health care, which is a pretty large issue in the state of Texas, and the Equal Rights Amendment. And so when she saw how well documented our research was on all of these topics, her mind immediately went to say to her staff assistant, be sure we keep these in the files because we may need to look this up for some of the things that we're wanting to talk about in the legislature. So I thought that was one of our huge accomplishments with her, is that she not only saw information about the local branch, she also saw information about AAUW Texas, and at the national level, what our primary topics of interest are. So she came away from that realizing that we were smart, that we were strategic, and that we were a resource for her if she needed facts. So we took that opportunity when she was talking about the wonderful information. We took that opportunity to say to her that we would be happy to serve as a focus group for her at any point when she is working on bills in the Texas legislature that affect women and girls, that we would be happy to be one of her focus groups if she wanted to reach out to us. So we gave her our business cards so she could find us, and we actually have reached out to her to come and do a program for us this upcoming year. So we're excited about that meeting, and not just the meeting that day, but the potential for working with her moving forward. So that was fun.
It's wonderful. Thank you, Paula. And back to Marin, same question. What are some creative initiatives that you took on during your participation?
So as Nakia knows well, we took on we tried a lot of things. I kept emailing her, does this work? Does that work? Like I mentioned, the Work Smart workshops, and that did end up counting for us, and we were really happy about that. And we're still trying to think of ways we can do that. There was also one of our members was really passionate about trying to start an AAUW club at one of the local universities, trying to get more of the university students involved, recruit younger members. So we gave that a go. It's kind of in fits and starts right now, but we're going to see what we can do about that. And very similar story about the public policy piece. So we were able to send some very experienced members that have done lobbying before to see our assembly member, Jared Huffman. And they also, like the Texas branch, they crafted some materials and things that from national and state that they wanted to show him and really educate him as to who we are and what we stand for. And I think it was really important that we did that. There's a lot of legislatures here in our area that are very on board with women and girls equity and pushing for that. And this one in particular wasn't really focusing on it. And so I think it was really important that we got to him and showed him that we're here and what's important to us and what we're really looking at. And again, the research, the national research is just phenomenal. So it's great to be able to pull those resources together. And when we have meetings like this and show what we stand for and what we're looking to do.
Shireen, I wanted to kick that question back to you, since you touched a little bit on how about how the work was impacting your about how the program impacted your work in gender equity. So I just wanted to learn a little more about that.
Yeah, so similar to the other branch, we did put this on our agenda for each board meeting to circle back on the 5-star. And we also added the mission to the top line of every meeting agenda, just to kind of remind us and bring us back to looking at what we're really doing, instead of getting bogged down in things that are also important but not really the true mission, book clubs and events and things like that. So I feel like focusing on these activities and having a clear plan really helped us circle around the fact that this is why we're here. This is why we joined AAUW. The mission is equity for women and girls. And if we're going to do an event or a book club, it should be centered around that. And it should be something that promotes that or helps us continue the work, as opposed to just socializing, which is lovely as well, but needing to make sure that we're really continuing the work and supporting national where we can, and keeping really on track with that mission. And I think that the 5-star is a perfect, as I said before, it's a perfect roadmap for really doing that for your branch. So for the strategic plan piece, we just said, okay, we're going to adopt national strategic plan as ours, and that really helped as well, because it's already, you don't have to recreate the wheel; it's already there for you.
Awesome, thank you, Shireen. And back to Northeast Tarrant County, how did the 5-star program enhance your work in gender equity?
So many things that we do surround gender equity, and we have lots of things. We did a Work Smart program through our branch and invited other branches also to attend that. We're always sharing information about gender equity with campus students, and they're very attentive to that because it impacts them so very much.
And we were also interested in helping younger girls by having the STEM and arts conferences for them. And we had 2 already, and one was already scheduled for November of last year. So we were able to put that on the program star right off the bat, which made it nice to have some things already in progress.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much. Yes, Dottie.
Yeah, I would echo that. I think it was a great focusing tool, but we were already doing a number of things. So in that sense, it gave us a little sense that, yes, we were somewhat on target. We just were able to really, and the spreadsheet all is a great idea, highly recommended. Whether it's Word or Excel, doesn't matter. It's just tracking it, getting people responsible.
Yeah.
And I think now, we're thinking more in that direction. Some of the other categories, so we're focused on programs a lot, but the fundraising for the greatest needs, I think that was much sharper. I think our communications, we were fortunate to get a member who was an expert in it, is continuing and really upped our social media presence, which I have to say, since most of our members are on the older side, a lot of them aren't that into Twitter and so forth, but we have a presence now, so that's been great. Meeting with the assemblyman, I think that was terrific. And fortunately in California, we also have a state AAUW that, again, has a strong public policy agenda that supports national, and we even have a part-time lobbyist. So that's something I would like to maybe look into a little more this year as I'm president, how we can also work with the state. Anyway, I wanted to mention one thing, that's all I'll say, but in terms of creativity in this time of having to use Zoom or whatever. Well, California has a program called Tech Trek, which is actually a STEM camp for girls. And, we raise money to sponsor girls. Well, this year it was canceled. So we said, well, what can we do for these girls that didn't get to go to camp? And so I'm very proud that a couple of our Tech Trek committee members put together a virtual Tech Trek. It was terrific. 5 days. It was 2 weeks ago. They had a program every day for these 8 girls. And it included, one, the branch bought them each a chemistry set. So all the girls got a chemistry set. And then each day they had interactive activities. And we had at least a dozen women scientists leading different sessions over the week, all just volunteering as they were asked. And so we had an astronomer. They did DNA extraction. They had tech. Yes, we have locally a research institute on aging. And so they actually took the lead. And then finally at the end, I don't know if this is legit, but they went outside. The 8 girls actually got to see each other in person, socially distancing, wearing masks. They did a nature session where they identified trees, but whatever. It tried to meet the expectations that we would have had with Tech Trek. So the reason I mention this is it's something that could be done virtually. And could be a model for others to follow. For example, we always had a STEM day at the local community college as well, and so maybe we try that. Anyway, thanks.
Thank you so much. That's actually perfect that you mentioned doing a virtual program, because especially now we want to be really creative and find other ways to continue to engage our communities. And right now, virtual is the way to go. So, it's never, if you're not involved in virtual programs, it's never too late to just jump right in. And there are plenty of programs out there for everyone that are just incredibly intuitive, as I'm sure everyone here knows. So that brings me to my next question. Since we did loosely touch on things that we had to do to be creative, Marin, what systems or strategies did you already have in place when 5 Star started that helped you get through the program?
We already realized that we were doing really well with membership retention. We were already doing really well with greatest need contributions, although we did want to step that up considerably. And then we were already doing really great on the programming under some of the advancement initiatives. The Work Smart pilot program that we did, it was Sherry Sorokin, Del Sataki, and Jane Winter, and they had already, envisioned this and were already starting to plan it when 5 Star came out. So it just fits so nicely within the parameters of the different objectives that we had to achieve. And yeah, like Margaret said, it is nice to feel like you can check something off the list right away. So that was one of the things for us where we felt like, okay, we're on our way. We've already accomplished something.
Thank you, Shireen. Dorothy, do you have anything to add?
Oh gosh, let me think. Yes, we did already have things in progress. And I think, again, I'm the new president now, so I want to continue this. And I've been thinking how to, refocus us. Success is great, but we need to keep at it. So one other thing I want to mention that I thought was good that we had and could improve upon was relationships with other women's organizations in the area. And when mentioned the Work Smart online training. One of our members was the executive director of the local YWCA, and they already had a program that would train women over 50 who wanted to return to the workplace in technology and sort of upgrade their skills. So it was a great chance to partner with them and do the Work Smart online. They were learning computers and they needed to know how to negotiate and so forth. So I thought that was something else that was sort of partly in place and then came to fruition.
Thank you. And same question to Northeast Tarrant County. What systems and strategies did you all already have in place?
Carol, that's yours, isn't it?
Well, I was already said about the STEM project, but we had already had goals, and we changed the goals to strategic plan, and we worked on that several times to incorporate what national wanted and what our state wanted, and we were able to keep the strategic. We had the 5-star and we had the strategic plan spreadsheets going through the whole time.
And in our STEM program, we also had a section for parents. So the parents that brought the kids had their own little conferences on topics to help their kids, which I think was very helpful. Parents loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks so much, Carol and Margaret. And that brings me to our final question. So I want to know from AAUW Marin, what was your biggest takeaway from 5-star, and what advice do you have for some branches that are here today that might be interested in participating as well?
Well, I want Dottie to speak to this too, but I think my biggest takeaway was how it wasn't that hard and you can do it. You just take it step by step, and how it did really refocus our board and hopefully our members on our mission, and help to really ground us and gather us together around the mission. And my advice would be to just take it a step at a time, map it out. One thing that really helped me map it out was logging into the portal where you submit your progress to get approved for your stars. And that really helped me to visualize the things that we needed to do and the steps that we needed to take. So I'll turn it back to Dottie.
No, and we're going to thank you, because Shireen provided tremendous leadership in this effort. She took it on early, and I remember in the beginning we had a lot of questions like what counts and what, I think you kind of have to do your own thing in a way. But what I would hope that we could do with this year, which will obviously continue, I think it really helped focus the board. I want to get the message out more to the membership. I'm not quite sure how to do that, but we're an older branch, and a lot of the people are kind of, maybe I wouldn't say narrow, but they have their things that they're interested in. I'm not sure they've seen the big picture, and I think Shireen did a great job of sending a message every month, kind of telling the whole branch where we were with this effort, and I think that would be something I would want to continue.
Well, thank you so much. And Northeast Tarrant County, what advice do you have for other branches, and what was your key takeaways from 5-star?
Well, the more members that you can use to get it done, it really helps them feel part of the group. Plus, it makes it a lot easier when we spread it out instead of one person or a small group of people. And you can put in your newsletter request, does anybody know such and such? And you'll be surprised how many responses you will get. Sometimes you get nothing, but most of the time it's very good.
One of the things I'd like to quickly add is that this actually was an interesting time for us to go after this 5-star recognition because our branch was celebrating our 50th anniversary this past year. So we had a very busy year scheduled of program activities and celebration and interaction with the community and other women's groups and school board. And, we had a lot going on already. And it was such a gift at the end of that when we were celebrating our very last May event to be able to announce that we had won both the Texas Award and the 5-Star Recognition Award this year. And it was a culmination of excitement and pride and realizing we haven't changed much through the 50 years in terms of the branch's mission for women and girls. And so everybody was involved and it was just great fun. So I'm like Dottie, I'm anxious to see how we carry the enthusiasm over into this upcoming year.
Well, thank you all so much for joining us and answering those questions and sharing your experience with us all. With that, I do want to turn this back over to Tremaine, who will be leading our Q&A session and closing us out. Again, thank you guys so much. Congratulations on your achievement, and we will definitely be in touch for sure.
Okay, hey everybody, back again. So we've gotten a lot of good feedback. I've been feverishly typing away at some questions here and there throughout the Q&A, but there are a couple that I want to bring off at the top, and then there's a couple that I do want to open to the panel here writ large to see what answers you may have yourselves. But we are getting a couple questions, especially in relationship to the state portal. And so, yes, there will be a state portal for where, if you've been looking at the 5-Star webpage in the past, you've seen that there is a column for state criteria. And yes, that the state portal will be officially unveiled in August. So I don't know when this is recorded. I'd say next month, but next month is relative to when someone might see this recording. So in August, you should see the state portal go live, and we'll likely have all kinds of supplemental material. It's going to be very similar for those of you that have already been submitting at the branch level. We're not reinventing the wheel here. It's going to be very similar to the submission process at the branch level for the state level. The criteria will be a little different. So I do urge you to kind of review that for those of you in state leadership positions that are interested in getting your state status in the 5-Star program. So stay tuned for that, but we are hoping that will be debuted next month, which will be in August. So I am going to then see, I think we had another question about the size of each of your branches and your state boards. So I don't know if, Maren, do you know off the top of your head how many members that you have?
I think we have around 180, but is that right, Dottie?
It's officially 173 at the moment.
Close, you're close.
And we're in the process, of course. One of the stars has to do with retention. So,
Yes.
Right now dues are due, and we're working hard to get good renewals.
And for Northeast Tarrant County, how many members do you have?
Our number is 104. And one of the interesting things that happened with us right at the end of the year is that we picked up 3 or 4 dual members from other Texas branches. And it's going to be fun to see how that group of new members participate moving forward. So
awesome.
We're excited about that. Just something to think about, is to reach out to the people who are in branches close by you and invite them to participate as well.
Yes, and so I think in one of the kind of the caveat questions, or one of the second questions for the sizes of some of these 5-Star branches, is that there is a belief that it can only be done by larger branches. And actually, if we were to show you the larger list again, there are some branches on the general 5-Star that have achieved 5-Star that are about 40 brand members in size. So, and again, 5-Star is obviously the ultimate goal, the greatest achievement, but there is no shame. And just because it is the name of the program does not mean that you should feel any less of a branch if you are able to get 3 stars or 4 stars. I mean, 5 stars is great, and obviously we applaud and give all sorts of due credit to the Marin and for Northeast Tarrant County for being going above and beyond. But I don't want to shortchange or make any branch feel less, or that we won't bother because we won't hit that penultimate mark, because I think it's like not every athlete has an Olympic gold medal, for example. So I mean, so 5 star is wonderful, but do not be deterred or do not participate just because you think that is the only benchmark. We are glad to recognize branches from 1 star and 4 star and anything in between. So please do not let that be a detriment or any sort of deterrence for you participating in the program. Big and small, all of us are mighty here as we are engaging with the 5 star program. So I just want to put that out there. Let me go through. I did get a lot of questions about some of the, I think Moran was speaking a lot about spreadsheets and how they were tabulating, kind of keeping track on things. And I think what we may do is, if anyone is interested, on the last slide of our presentation will be kind of the 5 star email address, as well as our the website for the 5 star information. Excuse me. So what I may ask interested parties to do is send an email to 5star@aauw.org. Again, that's going to be on the last slide here coming up, so you don't have to feverishly write that down right now. But we will, if you coordinate through that email address, we'll be able to kind of coordinate with these branch leaders and then get some of those materials out to them. This is a good question for both branches. This is from Caroline Pickens in Virginia. What of the requirements were some of the biggest challenge for your board and branch? So I will open that up to whomever wants to kind of take that first, but which of the requirements were the most challenging for either of you to achieve? And whoever wants to jump in.
I'll jump in, but I'm only anticipating this. One of the stars has to do with succession, for that you have a planning for future officers and so forth.
Yes.
And we struggle with that. We have people that wind up, like myself. I was president, like maybe 8 or 9 years ago, and here I am again. One thing that Shireen started that I think was helpful was the idea of having, quote, shadows for board positions, so that there would be people kind of in the pipeline for the future. We did not have the benefit as Tarrant for having co-presidents and then having co-president-elects and all that. So maybe they should talk about how they were successful in that regard.
Well, Carol and I were the first 2 presidents to hold the office, and we like not to use the term co, because either one of us can make a decision in a heated moment. But that's just a little peculiarity we have. So we had 2 presidents, and the mornings, we were both morning people, and we would talk many mornings, not every morning, but often, and see, what needed to be on an agenda that was coming up, what was another step we could take in meeting our criteria for the 5 star program. And it really, personally helped me to talk it out with Carol. And I think as we talked, things became more clear. We got new ideas, or we figured we were stumped and we had to go somewhere else, for help. So that was one success factor. We also did not have any idea how to do a succession plan. And so we got the book we looked up online the Succession Planning for Dummies, and there were several steps, components that you needed to have, and that became on our Word spreadsheet that we had to do, and so we proceeded to identify how we were going to do that. So we had a number of spreadsheets going, including our strategic plan, which that year we started out with goals. Both our Texas state had goals for the year, and our branch had goals. And then as it became more apparent we needed a strategic plan, that morphed into a strategic plan. So we changed directions in the midst of the process. I still have on this year's Word documents the goals that we had set initially, which became the strategic plan. And so, I think AAUW challenged us to grow. And sometimes it was like, can we do that? I mean, when we had to decide if we could contact a candidate, we had participated in candidate forums, but not ever met with one individual candidate. And that didn't feel nonpartisan the first time we heard that. And so we asked ourselves, can we do that? And we decided that we can. We're not going to end up supporting that candidate as an organization, but individually that could be a decision. But finding out and letting them know where we stand on the issues is perfectly acceptable for a nonpartisan organization. And that was, to me and to many, new information.
Excellent. Yes. No. And I think I love that response about challenging and sort of kind of forcing a little bit of growth there. I've been at AUW for quite some years, and I've heard, unfortunately, especially as this is the time of season, this is the time of year right now where a lot of folks are being onboarded for new leadership roles, and some of them, unfortunately, are just given a box of old documents and said, have at it. And so that is one of the reasons why we did put that one criteria under the governance and sustainability, is to have branches think about, what does succession look like? What is knowledge transfer? How do you properly pass the torch from one leader to the next? Because if you have those systems in place, then hopefully you won't have scenarios where you have one individual that sits in the spot for year after year after year because no one else kind of wants to take on that responsibility. So I get that. I love hearing that forced your branch to kind of think a little bit on that. And I'm also mindful of time here. And unfortunately, we are at the end of this session. So don't fret. We are capturing every single question that came into the Q&A box. Like I said, I was feverishly typing to kind of get what questions I could answer indirectly. Nakia, if you want to bring up that last slide, wonderful. So this is not the end of the conversation, everyone. I want to thank our esteemed attendees and panelists here today. Their branches have done above and beyond, but they are not alone. And I think one of the Q&A questions that we did get is that, we've achieved our 5-star status. Now what? And so it's going to be a little bit like this, where, your branches are models for others. And we want to be able to tap you and kind of open your brains up, if you will, and, kind of share. And again, knowledge transfer. This is, we talk about knowledge transfer from one leader to another, but we want to try and do more of this where we may not be able to physically gather together any longer, but we want to have some sort of networking opportunities for branch and state leaders to kind of be able to connect, share ideas, commiserate, and say, we're all facing this pandemic. What are some of the ways we're going to be able to adapt our own programming to kind of face the climate that we're in right now? So this is then that's going to be a part of that, and these 5-star leaders will definitely be a part of that conversation. So I want to thank everyone again for participating. Look for Membership Matters in the future, because we will be announcing that state portal update. With the Q&As that we were not able to get today, we're going to find a way that we can respond to a lot of those as well in future, either an FAQ on the website or other opportunities. So please stay tuned. Thank you all again so much for both your interest in the 5-star program. I hope if you're not already enrolled, you consider participating. Email us if you have any questions. Take a look, and we are happy to go through this. And I think one other thing I want to mention out there is that if you do want to be in touch with any of these leaders, email us at the 5-star website, and especially if you're interested in spreadsheets. I heard a lot of the kudos from Marin and your 5-day STEM program, and there was a lot of questions about how on earth you're doing that. So email us at 5-star, and we'll kind of route those inquiries to the member leaders here, so we can put you all in contact, so everyone can again be sharing that knowledge transfer, and being and just again everyone helping each other's programs out. So again, Thank you all so much. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you for our attendees. And again, thank you all for what you're doing for AAUW in all of these trying times. It is duly appreciated, and we can't thank you enough. Thank you all again.